Good afternoon and welcome to KAKTUS Festival 2017. I hope that says applause. My name is Paul Meets. I'm a creative director at Droga5 New York. I've been working there for the last 4 years. Doesn't sound like much, but it's more than a third of the time the agency's been around. I guess what drew me to the agency in the first place was, they seem to be doing really different things, and a lot of their work, was and still is about creating a complex system of work seamlessly integrated. In my opinion, some of the best work Droga5 has ever been able to make has been integrated, and I think, this is testament to that. Work like this really took integrated to the next level. Most of you will probably recognize this project. It's called Decoded. It's very old. It brought together Bing and Jay-Z. Was one of the first things the agency ever did. It identified the launch of Jay-Z's autobiography Decoded, and Droga5 put every single page of the book in a different location based on the content of that page. So Bing allowed fans to discover the book in real-world situations and try to be the first to compile the book in its entirety. It was a complex system of real-world placements using billboards, a leather jacket, a punching bag, a pool table, and the bottom of a pool, just to name a few. The work had you searching for more, which is exactly what you want if you're a search engine. Let me see. It increased Bing's market share to the highest percentage since its launch in 2009, and the campaign demonstrated Bing's benefits and catapulted the brand into popular culture. So with work like this, and plenty more examples like it in their short 11-year history, I thought there must be some kind of secret at Droga to making great work. So when I started there, I was keen to discover what's their special sauce. I've spent the last 4 years trying to figure it out, and here's what I've discovered. Unfortunately, there is no special sauce. I know that's a disappointing answer, but there's really nothing new going on over there. I was certain that once I landed a job at Droga, that I was on easy street, that the good work would just make itself and the special sauce would take care of everything, but that's just patently untrue. Don't get me wrong, I've made work that I'm really proud of while I've been there, but it was by no means easy. So for 4 years I kept looking for the secret. I still haven't found anything surprising, but in that time I have managed to uncover a list of unsurprising things that seem to lead to good work at Droga, and I'll take you through those now. So this is my list of no surprises. The first unsurprising thing is they work hard. It's as if the work is never finished, and right up to the last second, we're trying to improve the ideas to make the presentation better, one more great thought, or beat the best idea in the deck with a new one. The second unsurprising thing is that they expect new ideas all the time. There's so many check-ins there, it's really relentless. Sometimes twice a day we have check-ins, creative check-ins, and each check-in you have to bring new ideas, then they want new ideas again tomorrow, and on it goes until, the only thing that stops it is the deadline. It really is relentless. The third thing on the list, unsurprisingly, they never want to repeat themselves, or worse yet, repeat someone else. So the thinking is that if it hasn't been done yet, then we should do it, no matter how hard it is. And in fact, the idea that's chosen usually to present is usually the hardest to do, because the idea that is the hardest to do is usually the one that no one has tried yet. And, I think they're in a fortunate position, obviously. They make great work because they've made great work in the past. So clients start asking, where's my Decoded, where's my TAP project? And when the clients start asking for an idea that's comparable to these are ideas that were world-beating at the time, now I've got to go think of one, it's really puts the pressure on. And the last one on the list I call Cat Hollywood, and this is just my way of saying that unsurprisingly, everyone just gets behind the idea, and I think that's really important. And it's no matter how stupid the idea might seem, because it actually might be brilliant. So Cat Hollywood. So I say Cat Hollywood because within my first or second week at Droga, I shared this stupid cat idea internally, and I was really amazed at how seriously everybody took it. We were tasked with advertising a new smartphone at the time, and they were becoming increasingly inexpensive. What once cost anywhere from 500 to 800 US dollars for the latest model was now as little as $80. This meant there was a huge new market for smartphones in developing countries, and Brazil was where the client wanted to focus their efforts. So it was this huge new market. You know, Brazil is the 5th largest population in the world. And interestingly, you might not be aware of this, but it's also home to one of the largest cat populations of any country in the world, with over 12 million cats. So if you do the creative math, that's potentially over 200 million people upgrading to smartphones with 12 million cats running around the place. So to me, that was a recipe that would undoubtedly lead to more, a substantial increase in cat video production. So I mean, think about it. Most cat videos are filmed on smartphones, and Brazilians clearly love their cats. So to me, it was a done deal. So thus, in my mind at least, Cat Hollywood was born. And it's an entire film industry based in Brazil purely for cat videos filmed on our smartphones. So this never happened, by the way, but in my head, it was brilliant. So the plan was to create adorable, shareable cat videos on these smartphones, and then use those videos to advertise the smartphones that made it, to sell more phones and make even more cat videos. So, maybe it isn't so stupid. But I remember presenting this idea to our CCO, and this is my first or second week, and I was thinking, he's going to fire me. And I remember telling the account team, we could call it Perrywood, or we could call it Holly Whiskers, or, just Cat Hollywood's fine. And I remember them all just sort of nodding along as I explained the idea, and then at the end everyone just sort of said, okay, and they got behind it. So, like I said, unfortunately it never got made, but the point is I just loved how everyone rallied behind this idea to make it happen, and that's just such an incredible thing and an important part of making great work. So, that's enough about Droga, I think, and things like Cat Hollywood. I've been asked to talk about integrated marketing, so I thought a smart first move would be to at least look up what that meant. So rather than turn to the dictionary, I turned to the Cannes Lions site for answers. The Cannes Lion Festival defines integrated work as an idea placed into diverse environments such that it is enriched by each. And I'd never thought about it that way. The first part seems obvious, but it's the second part of that I find to be really interesting, such that it's enriched by each. That each execution could enrich the idea, making it better for the next execution and the one after that. So, for the most part, personally, I'd only considered integrated work as something like this. It's a big idea launched simultaneously across multiple channels. There's a big thought at the heart of it, and in each channel, the idea is reinvented or represented in different ways, usually tailored to the medium it's in, it's great. There's plenty of amazing campaigns that have done this. I'm not putting this aside, but if all the executions are representing the same idea, then are they really enriching it, or are they just repeating it? So I wanted to share with you a couple of examples of more linear approach to creating integrated work. In both of the following examples, the idea comes to fruition much more slowly, rather than blasting the idea into a network of different environments all at once. So these ideas instead, they use time to let the idea grow, so that one execution can enrich the next, and so on and so forth down the line. In this way, we can create a knock-on effect, or a ripple effect, as it were, where the work improves upon itself during the process of going to market. So the ripple effect is actually a name we gave to a campaign we created for Chase Bank in America, and it does a good job of illustrating how by starting small, being patient, and watching an idea grow can lead to more impressive results. So the task at hand was to launch a new points-based credit card tailored towards small business owners. The problem was the market was completely oversaturated with cards, and they were all offering the same thing, bonus points. Some were offering 50, 60, 70,000, others 80,000 just for signing up. So in order to compete, Chase was offering a sign-up bonus of 80,000 points as well. It was a good offer. However, we did some research, and all of our research suggested that most small business owners see points as either meaningless or utterly abstract. It was a problem that the market had created for itself. Every credit card now had its own different points-based loyalty system of their own. Each system had a different redemption value for those points. So the number of points you get free for signing up had indeed become meaningless. If I was a business owner, I'd think, sure, I get 80,000 points, but what's that really worth? So we weren't off to a great start. How could we successfully launch a points-based credit card when points were devoid of meaning in the eyes of small business owners? To be successful, we needed first to give points meaning again, to show their value, and make them an indispensable tool for business, as indispensable as money in the bank. So, fortunately for us though, business owners are a resourceful bunch of people. They use everything at their disposal to power their business, so why not use points? So we decided to show business owners that if they put their points back into their business, they would finally see their true value. To do that, we decided to create a new product using nothing but points. And in order to impress small business owners, we couldn't just create any product. We had to create a successful one. So what we thought we needed to create was actually the next big thing. But what to make? And I'm sure you can appreciate when you sit down to think about what the next big thing might be, it's really hard, hard to predict, hard to think of. But it felt like, there was a new food craze lighting up the internet every second week in New York, so we decided to make that our focus. Could we launch the next food craze using nothing but points? So we partnered with a real Chase client, the donut plant, and we took 80,000 points that he got for signing up for our credit card and invested them all in product development. Whatever we made, we had to hope like hell that it was going to succeed before we put a single ad out into the world. So this is Mark Israel, the owner of the donut plant. He kindly allowed us to use all of his points to purchase the ingredients and the materials needed to weld custom donut cutting equipment and start experimenting. And because the points were free and it didn't feel like he was spending any money, Mark was able to experiment in his kitchen without risking his bottom line on trial and error, which basically meant we were able to try a lot of different things, and I wanted to show you a few. This one we called the New York Latte. It's 3 miniature donuts stacked on top of each other, filled with a hot coffee jam center, and it came complete with a half donut handle. And so it was a good idea in theory, but the handle kept breaking off and the donut stack was far from watertight, so all the coffee jam spilled out. Basically, it just didn't work. But we loved the idea of mixing coffee with donuts. These are a New Yorker's two favorite things if you don't count pizza. So we tried again by literally blending coffee and donuts together, and it actually tasted pretty good, kind of like drinking coffee with condensed milk. But by putting donut and coffee in a blender, anyone can do that, so why would they come to us? We needed to keep experimenting. So this was the Slinky. Again, in theory, this was a great idea. We wanted to show if we could make a donut in the shape of one of the world's most famous toys, world's most popular toys. The best we could do was this sort of spiral, really thick, donut-y spiral. It looked more like car suspension than a Slinky. But I stand by this idea. Can you imagine a donut that could walk downstairs? It would be amazing. And then there was the toffee apple donut, an apple cider donut covered in hard toffee shell with a pop stick artfully placed in the center. And then one of my favorite ideas was the loaf nut, a sliced loaf of donut. The idea was to take it home like you would any loaf of bread, pop it in the toaster, spread jelly or jam on it, put fried chicken in between it, whatever you want to do with it. I stand by this one. I think this idea could have been huge. Could have produced a range of home donut condiments to go with it, and I'm sure it would have been great. I'm still unsure why we didn't go with this one. I still really like it. But what we ended up going with, after much trial and error, we finally landed on the Ripple, a donut inside a donut inside a donut. And that sounds simple enough, but it turns out putting a donut inside a donut is actually quite a science. And then putting those two donuts inside another donut was damn near impossible. And there were many times along the way where we thought we might not even have a product here to show for our 80,000 points, let alone a successful one. But we got there in the end. This is the Ripple. We'd successfully created a 3-ring donut, served in slices like a pizza, and big enough to feed about 6 people. Each ring of the donut had a different flavor, so as you made your way through the slice, the flavor combinations would change, and it was kind of a Willy Wonka type experience. And we could have launched our branded campaign right then and there. You know, we could have shown business owners that you can make a product like this for your business, even something as original as this, with your points. But instead we decided to wait. We decided to launch the Ripple on its own, completely unbranded, and wait to see how successful it could become. So we launched the Ripple on Donut Plant's Instagram account, and it was instantly picked up by the country's most influential food publications, including Grub Street, Time Out, and New York Magazine, along with culture curators such as BuzzFeed and Thrillist, to name a few. It was dubbed anything from a bullseye mega pastry to the turducken of donuts, and Zagat listed it as one of the year's most Instagrammable dishes and placed it on high amongst their 25 essential dishes to try in New York City. So the instant success made our Chase clients impatient, but we convinced them to wait a bit longer and see where it led. About a month since our first post, news of the Ripple had made its way onto broadcast television. The Today Show proclaimed it a ripple of excitement. And then broadcast radio went even further, claiming the Ripple was better than the Cronut, which I thought was the ultimate compliment. And New York Post exclaimed, "Oh, holy bite," whatever that means. So the Ripple had started in just one small shop in Chelsea in New York, and only a limited number were released each day. The supply never met the demand to keep the excitement up. And from there, word had spread quickly across the country, garnering news coverage in more than half the states of America. And within 2 months, the Ripple had made waves across the world, so reaching as far as my home country of Australia, South Africa, Japan, and so on. I mean, you simply can't buy that kind of press. Well, I suppose you can, but it's very expensive. So for 2 whole months, we had waited and watched the craze grow. Then, when the craze was at its peak, it was time to reveal to small business owners everywhere that it was made with 80,000 points from a Chase Ink card. So days before the reveal, we put up large hand-painted billboards of the Ripple around New York, just the donut. And as the day approached, we took bites out of the giant ripples by unpainting them and slowly revealing the points from our new business card were behind the whole phenomenon. Social films like this one followed suit, revealing that 80,000 bonus points that we were offering was enough to create one of the biggest food crazes of the year. And then our print ads, they broke out precisely how points were used to create the Ripple. Immersive articles delved into how business owners could apply their own points to their business. A delicious direct mail piece allowed business owners to get a taste of exactly what 80,000 points can do. And then our films went into more detail, and this is where we benefit from waiting a little bit until the Ripple could have a bit of life out there in the world. So we then sought the approval of the TV stations, the radio stations, the newspapers, the blogs, and used them in our ads to show how successful the Ripple had become and how valuable points can be when they're used as a tool for your business. So the success was now part of the work, not just part of the case study. Disappointing. Seems to have frozen. Oh.
We created the Ripple. The donut and a donut and a donut. Right away, it was a success. I mean, it really took off. What people don't know is that it all started with points from my Chase Ink card. I bought the ingredients, utensils, even custom donut cutters. Wow. All with 80,000 points.
Introducing the new Ink Business Preferred card. What will you create with your points?
So it was really just a huge product demonstration. So 80,000 points was no longer just an arbitrary number. It was in fact precisely enough to create one of the biggest food trends of 2016, and that was tangible proof that points are an indispensable tool for business. So, some more maths. What began with an initial investment of $800 worth of points went on to produce a $796,000 return in earned media. So that's a return of investment of over 99,000%. So to put that another way, we'd taken 80,000 bonus points and made them look like they were worth almost 80 million. So suddenly our sign-up offer was a lot more attractive. And of course, you know, this was good news for card sales, with Chase reporting an increase in purchase intent nearly 8 times higher than it was prior to the campaign. So just to recap, you know, we'd made a product with points, and then we'd waited till the product got famous. We then told business owners that this famous product was made with exactly 80,000 points, and oh, what a coincidence, that was what we were offering if you sign up today. So suddenly that 80,000 points seemed a lot more valuable, and suddenly lots of people were signing up for credit cards. So it took time and it took patience, particularly on the part of the client, but in the end, the more the craze grew, the more proof of its success we could put in our ads, and the more impressive our offer looked in the eyes of our target. And this is probably my favorite part about all of this. To this day, the Ripple remains a permanent fixture on Donut Plant's menu, and it's ongoing proof that points can be an invaluable tool for business. So that's the first idea. The next campaign I wanted to share with you was the first campaign we created for a genealogy and DNA research company, Ancestry. So this idea is a little different in that it was effectively 241 years in the making. So thankfully, unlike the Ripple, we didn't have to wait around this time. We just simply seized the right moment. But to give you a little bit of background, Ancestry had been at the forefront of home genealogy for decades. They had created the category and had no problem with awareness. However, less than 1% of consumers were actually buying a DNA kit or signing up to do their family tree. The problem was consumers simply don't view family history with a sense of urgency. I mean, it's the past, it's not going anywhere. So to create urgency, we needed to shift the brand's focus, to move on from talking about a distant past and show the entire country that our past can actually be relevant right here and now. So we created a new brand tagline, Unlock Your Past, Inspire Your Future, and set out to create advertising that used the past as a means to inspire us moving forward. And July 4th, a national celebration steeped in American history, offered the perfect moment to show how our collective past can inspire us in the present. So using Ancestry's database, we traced the lineage of our founding fathers, or their founding fathers, to find their living descendants, not knowing exactly what we might find. What we did discover was a surprisingly diverse group of Americans. So we had found our inspiration. We assembled them all in a recreation of John Trumbull's iconic Declaration of Independence painting, which you saw on the previous slide. The painting had immortalized that historic moment, and our resulting image depicts an America that looks very different than it did in 1776.
We hold these truths to be self-evident.
That all men
are created equal. That they are endowed by the Creator
with certain unalienable rights.
that among these are life,
liberty,
and the pursuit of happiness.
We, therefore,
the representatives of the United States of America, for the support of this declaration,
mutually pledge to each other
our lives,
Our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
So, I mean, this work launched at a time of deep division in America. You know, I'm sure you're all aware, the newspapers are full of it. There's walls being built, immigration, travel bans being signed, and racial acceptance over there has taken a 150-year step in the wrong direction. At the time, there seemed to be very little to be proud of. But for news outlets, our film was a welcome change. We had shown in America to be proud of once more, and the response was overwhelmingly positive. The film achieved national TV coverage on CBS News and online articles in the Huffington Post and the Daily Mail, to name just a few. And it had a combined reach of over 400 million in just a few days. And, you know, we were armed with the perfect spokespeople too, a diverse group of descendants of the founding fathers of the United States. So each article became an opportunity to speak out about the virtues of diversity, the importance of immigration, and the need to show acceptance of all people now more than ever. So what this image basically is, when it comes down to it, is genetic proof that shows 2 centuries of love and acceptance that has happened in America since they declared their independence and wrote down their most important values. So we reminded them of those values in that film, and you know, it gained even more pertinence. So now, some 241 years later, we thought it was high time to get the paintbrushes out again. So the final touch to the campaign was a 50-something foot mural on the streets of New York, painted in a public space so that generations to come might have a more modern image of America to look back on. So look, I'm proud to have been involved in these 2 pieces of work. However, I showed them to you today merely to illustrate a simple point, that time can do wonderful things for an idea if you put it to use. It could be 2 days, it could be 2 months, it could be 241 years. It really depends on what the idea is and how long you're willing to wait. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the festival.